This week on JTV, we've got something really remarkable for you. Something that looks like it's a huge arrangement and at the same time uses the elements and principles of design to create some magic and allows you to use an economy of product. Introducing the remarkable, amazing Perimeter Urn, made in a wreath ring with no central vertical axis. We're going to have a whole lot of fun today creating this project. So let's get started. Today's project will be created in a rotocast urn using the Oasis 15-inch wreath ring as our base. The thing that makes this truly remarkable is the products that we use and the mechanics and construction that we have. It's important to get the mechanics right. The great part about this wreath ring is that it's also detachable. These clips pop right off of the frame. Pulling out on both sides and just pulling them up allows us to take all 4 pieces of the foam out of the wreath ring for soaking. It's much easier to soak pieces this size than it is to stick something this big down inside a bucket. We have a lot of places that we can actually soak these, so this makes it easy. Let's grab some soaked ones and put them back in our frame. I was able to float soak these pieces ahead of time in a floral nutrient water so that I'm assured they're well saturated. Another key to this mechanic is the fact that we have a large piece of floral foam and the depth of the foam itself. Having the ability to make lots of placements into this foam is key to making the perimeter urn look like it's a large-scale arrangement. We simply clip these back on the wreath to help hold the foam in place. Now, some people might stop there, but when we're putting all of the insertions that are going to happen to this wreath ring, we want to ensure that there's still another mechanic holding it together. Enter our JTV trick of the week, our 1/4-inch waterproof tape that we'll use to wrap the entire wreath ring. This will act as a modern form of chicken wire that will be easy for us to make flower placements between and be good and stable and help hold our floral foam in place. We take our 1/4-inch tape and start it, and then we're going to wrap the entire frame, keeping that tape about 1 inch apart. That gives us plenty of area to place our flowers into the wreath form. I also make sure that I take a piece of tape over the top of each one of the connector brackets. That way, I'm assured it's not going to come loose as well. The foam will hold our flowers securely, but as we used to know, many times we would take floral foam, place it in a big container like this, and then take a piece of chicken wire and place it over the top. Number one, chicken wire is very rigid, it's hard to cut, it can tear up our hands, it can also tear up our flower stems. In this case, the 1/4-inch anchor tape is a lot more friendly to our floral product. It helps the foam from expanding too much after all of our stem placements go into the foam. You'll see as we create this how important this process really is to the success of our final project. I can never stress enough here at JTV how important mechanics are to our finished projects. The flowers are beautiful, and when we've created something beautiful, we want everybody to appreciate it for as long as our special event or function or party might be. Because we have proper mechanics, we'll be assured that this product will be worry-free the entire night. So, our wreath ring that's attached and has been reinforced all the way around. And that's another important note, to remember that we continued wrapping the anchor tape in one continuous piece throughout the entire wreath frame. We don't want to do short pieces that just stop here, because those could come undone as well. We want to continue that going all the way around. This wreath frame then sits on top of our rotocast urn. You can imagine how much this urn might weigh if the entire arrangement itself was filled with floral foam that's soaked in water. And then putting massive amounts of flowers inside here, this could get pretty heavy and really hard to transport. The great part about this is we'll be able to remove our arrangement, transport it separately from the urn itself. So now we're ready for our flower placements. The first flower placement we'll want to make are our line flowers that will establish how tall this arrangement's going to be. Gladiolas work wonderfully for this purpose. Again, remembering we're creating an arrangement that's going to be different than any other type of arrangement that we normally make. We're very used to placing our central vertical axis in the middle of a big arrangement first. In this case, we're going to use illusion to get those central vertical axis points there without having it be in the center of the container. It's also important to notice where my placements are going to go. In this case, I'm working from the inside of the wreath ring to the outside of the wreath ring. That stem is going in, and the stem is also going all the way to the bottom and touching the bottom of the wreath ring. We don't want to have it halfway through the foam. We want to have it have as much stability as it possibly can. You'll also notice, because we're making a one-sided arrangement, that our flowers are facing forward. Again, notice where the placement of this stem is going directly into our floral foam. We'll continue to add these gladiolas all the way around, making sure that our flowers remain facing forward. So you'll notice that ring goes all the way around our wreath form. The gladiolas also, in different places, meander slightly into the middle of the central vertical axis of this design. Our next placement will be with our foliages that are line flowers to help fill in this area, giving the attribute of the central part of the middle of our arrangement. A product like long myrtle works very well for this. Because it's slender, it's elongated, and I can go in between my gladiola placements with this. Again, we're working in the same line and the same area of our wreath form with our placements with the long myrtle. Staying towards the center of the wreath itself. Again, our placements will go all the way around the wreath form. The reason that we continue to work in concentric circles all the way around the wreath form is to maintain proper balance. If all of our flowers fell in the first half of this wreath form towards the front, it could be front heavy and fall off. We want to make sure that we maintain that same balance all the way around the wreath form itself. You'll notice now that it's hard for us to see through this arrangement. That's part of the illusion. We're losing that central area that's completely empty now visually. We'll continue now with a few more line placements in between this height and the lower portions of the urn itself. A few snapdragons will work great for this. You'll notice that we're slowly moving out now towards the center of the wreath ring, but we're not going all the way out to this edge. There's still more product to come. By alternating the heights of the snapdragons, it gives me a little more interest too, and makes the arrangement not look so stiff. As I get towards the back of the design, I can start to bring some of the angles of those floral materials out away from my urn to give my arrangement a bigger, more voluminous effect. My next flower placements are going to be down here at the bottom so that we can fill in areas and create focal before we lay other product over the top. This is a great opportunity for us to use an inexpensive workhorse, our football mums. Standard mums, or sometimes called football mums, because they were used for homecoming football corsages, are a large mass pattern flower. That mass pattern placed down into the focal area of our arrangement gives us the ability to bring a lot of that white coloration deep inside our arrangement without adding a lot of expense. Football mums are a lot less expensive than Oriental lilies, or Casablanca lilies, or beautiful polar star roses. By placing these in this portion of the arrangement itself, we'll be able to layer those more expensive, beautiful flowers over the top, and these will appear to be those same types of flowers. Visually, for this purpose, we'll use those to give us that white flower pattern back in our arrangement. You'll also notice that now I'm working these flowers in at a 45-degree angle so that it's starting to build up the volume of our container. Again, I'm using the football mums very close to the surface itself. My other flowers will go over the top of those. So my next process will be to add another type of line flower that will help us define this area right here. Stock works really well because there's so much flower pattern and it's an inexpensive product. Because it's still a line flower, it's going to help make that transition from the top to the heavy focal area of our arrangement very easy. Notice how that stock fills in that area right there perfectly? That's what I love about this product. There's so much beautiful flower material and they smell great. The weight of the stock itself, too, with all of those flowers, allows it to naturally fall in this type of a pattern. So the weight of that flower actually brings our eye out that direction. It's letting the flowers themselves dictate how the arrangement goes together. You'll notice that I've used the stock up here to give us that transition. Now I'm going to start to use the stock further down to help me have more transition to this area of the design. Now you can see what's starting to happen. We're starting to have this arrangement become more voluminous. Adding a couple pieces of greenery out there, bringing that out a little further, helps to add to the whole illusion we're creating. I've become very comfortable creating the perimeter urn. That's because I practiced a lot. As you create this, you'll use these same techniques to come up with wonderful ideas that are your own. It could be created in any color. You can add different types of materials. You might find something that works perfect for you as a filler or a focal in your perimeter urn. We're adding foliage now that's going to cascade down and help give us a little more definition to the bottom of the arrangement. The Cleopatra leather leaf, with its lacy appearances, works so well for filling in between. We can use one whole branch and extend it out at a 45-degree angle from the urn itself. We can also bring these out at a hard 90-degree angle too, and let them drape down and cascade down naturally. You'll notice how quickly that Cleopatra foliage fills in. We're making these side insertions, and the stem itself is actually going in between the other stems that we placed earlier in the bouquet. Sometimes you have to fish a little bit to get that stem in there, but you also want to be deliberate. We don't want to destroy a whole bunch of the foam's mechanics. We need to have that foam solid and the separations of the insertions to stay intact so that it will hold together properly. Now it's time for us to add a few of our focal flowers. I have these amazing oriental lilies from Sun Valley. Those are so beautiful. You can imagine how expensive it might be if we had a huge arrangement just out of oriental lilies. But by using the elements and principles of design, we're able to use inexpensive flowers like gladiolas, stock, and football mums to create the basis of this arrangement, then adding these beautiful flowers as the focal area themselves. You'll notice that I've got a little bit of pollen on this lily itself. It's always a frustration. But Crowning Glory comes to the rescue. Simply by misting that with the Crowning Glory, it rinses away that pollen and it just disappears. I don't really know why Crowning Glory does that. I'm just glad it does. So we'll add that beautiful oriental lily in that area. You'll notice that we still visually see a little bit of the stock and the football mums behind it, but the focal emphasis goes directly to this lily. Another one right in the center. This one's going to be great over here. Again, football mums behind, but the lilies over the top. We're also not concealing an expensive flower inside the arrangement. This way, those get to be the star of the show. If we want to use an oriental lily close, somewhere like that, we can also cut them very short and again, bring them in for that 90-degree placement into the side of the wreath ring. We'll get rid of a little bit of our pollen very quickly with the Crowning Glory. And I think we need one more lily placement here. That starts to give us an asymmetrical appearance as well. But notice how those lilies are all front and center. It's time for us to add a few of my favorites, the Polar Star roses. Again, normally thinking about if we had a special event, that needed 4 or 5 or 10 of these arrangements, and trying to get hundreds of stems of polar star roses or hundreds of stems of oriental lilies, that could be a difficulty for us. In this case, we'll be able to use about a dozen polar star in the focal area and give the same impression as if the entire arrangement was made out of polar star. The other great thing about polar star is the fact that they're so brilliant white, but they also have an incredible fragrance. They smell like roses. We'll use that polar star right in the center. We can reinforce that by adding another one here. Notice that I'm keeping these flowers further away from the flowers down inside. It serves two functions for us. It keeps depth in our arrangement, and it allows these to become more important. Because Euphoria never uses any harsh chemicals on the roses themselves, all of my foliage remains beautiful as well. So these roses serve double duty and are an incredible value for this type of arrangement. Again, when I have a rose that has so many thorns on the outside, I'll take a few of those thorns off towards the bottom so that this will make a direct and clean insertion into the foam below. I don't need the thorns tearing up that surface area or creating a bigger hole than I need to in the floral foam. I think we need a couple on this side. It's also important to remember that we can use one as a little bit of a surprise down inside this area that has a lot of green foliage. We'll slip this polar star down deep inside there to give us some great reflective quality of light down inside that dark hole. I've created the Perimeter Urn hundreds of times at floral shows. So practice is an important key to when you create this. You'll want to try it a couple times first, maybe just using some old stems so that you can get the placements down correct and feel comfortable with creating something of this size. You should never try and do a Perimeter Urn the day of the event for the first time. That would be a big mistake. Let's bring one of these polar star up here nice and tall. That kind of combines the same way that we have this lily up here. Now we're down to adding filler flowers. And this is what's going to bring the entire urn together for us. Using some of the Mardi Gras Monte Cassino from Esmeralda, it will be really beneficial because of all of the different types of long laterals that are on this product. You'll always know Mardi Gras because it has this great little tag that's always placed inside each bunch. That means we're sure we're getting the product we're after. But being able to break this up and have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 placements from one stem is extremely valuable. What we're able to do with this is have it become filler material that transitions between our line material and our focal material. It gives our eye a little bit more color to transition from this flower to these flowers. It's interesting, in a big arrangement like this, these little tiny flowers playing such an important part. When we get to this point, It really truly is remarkable that this arrangement is hollow on the inside. No one will ever know because we use the proper secrets and elements and principles of design to help create something that will make people stand back in awe. As we get down to the end, we may even want to take whole stems like this and take them into the inside of the design. That keeps this type of product on the interior part of our arrangement as well, making sure we complete the illusion. I think our final step now is to add a little bit of ribbon. I'm just going to use a little bit of chartreuse green ribbon because that chartreuse green is going to help punch up the focal area of the flower and make these whites even more intense. Again, using my trusty Koei color stick, I'll start with my product and allow it to drape off the side. It's okay to have some of it dangle down like that. Push it back into the design, all the way back into the foam, leaving large loops and a little bit of that nice curl hanging out. And a little bit more on this side. There, I think it's perfect. And we've created a stunning illusion that will be perfect for any special event. Because our wreath frame has a small amount of water, this design is only good for special events. It's not going to last more than about 18 hours. We can make it ahead of time and place the base itself in a large receptacle so that it has a good water source. A great thing for that is a bus tub that you could get at a restaurant supply house. You can drop the whole wreath down inside there and fill that up with water. That way you could make this up on Thursday or Friday before an event. Other than that, we place it on top of the urn and it's going to be beautiful. To give it just that little extra period of time, we need to make sure we spray it with Crowning Glory. I like to use 2 of them for something this size. Making sure that we cover all of the floral material. Here's an idea for some of you inventive people. We need holsters so that we could have these in a holster. You know, here on JTV, I'm always designing by myself. That would make me the lone arranger. So, our remarkable perimeter urn, completely hollow on the inside, all of our focal flowers towards the front, allowing you to be a master magician with flowers. I'll bet you learned a lot of things today on JTV with something as remarkable as this that allows you to become a floral magician. By using the elements and principles of design and strictly following mechanics, we can create something that looks as if it's a huge arrangement, when in all actuality, it's simply a hollow wreath form that sits on top of an urn. Think about the economy of a product like this. It appears to be a huge arrangement, but yet only 6 or 7 bunches of flowers, a few focal lilies, and a dozen gorgeous roses go into creating something this beautiful. I also want to remind you that practice is extremely important. Before attempting this for a special event, make sure that you take the time to practice the remarkable perimeter urn. This week, my special JTV thanks to all the teachers I've had over the years who have taught me secrets and tricks and especially the elements and principles of design. And to my J audiences everywhere who always get a great kick out of the perimeter urn. Until next week, keep having fun with flowers.